eating my olive. Okay, so today, televangelists. So
I can't wait to talk about this.
Okay,
Freaking evangelists.
right. And so, when I started researching televangelists, I knew there was an abundance of information out there, no problem. But I went down so many deep rabbit holes, and I'm like, we're going to have to break this up into a couple different segments. So
I am fine with that.
today
Yeah.
I'm thinking we're going to focus mainly on like the golden age of televangelism, the 80s
80s.
kind of era, because
Yes.
I want to do prosperity gospel as like a whole nother deal.
Oh, yes.
Because
yes.
I
mean, and then there
so
could be televangelist scandal.
Right.
Could be an entire episode.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Just that
geez.
alone, just televangelist scandal alone. And we'll get into some of that today, because you can't talk about televangelists in the 80s and not
without
talk about
scandal.
all the scandal, because it was just wrought with scandal. Like, oh my gosh, the misuse of funds and the sex scandals and the false healing.
Truly the golden age.
Right.
Truly.
Right.
The golden age. All right. Well, educate me.
Okay. Well,
educate me.
So first of all, I want to clarify the difference between a televangelist and just like a televised preacher. So,
okay.
Like, because especially nowadays, almost every church is now,
That's true.
Since COVID, everybody puts their stuff online or streams, right? So, right. But televangelism was a whole nother beast, because
so Joel Osteen or whatever his name is would not have been a televangelist?
No, he definitely is a televangelist.
Oh, he is. Okay. Well, tell me why.
Yeah. So anyone who broadcasts out with the intention of like gaining followers and creating like a media following is more a televangelist, rather than just these church pastors that are just putting their stuff out there so that their locals can follow along online.
Okay, so they're trying to gather the sheep.
Right.
They're
out there trying to be TV stars. Yeah.
Save souls that are bringing lots of money.
Yes, of course, because it's all about the money. At least it was in the 80s. Well, it still is, but that's a whole nother deal. So, there was so much stuff I had to cut out. Just to make this fit within a single
We'll get back
podcast.
To it.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to with these. So today I want to mostly talk about those guys. So who do you think of when you think of like 80s televangelists?
Oh gosh. I really don't know lots of names.
Sure.
The guy that they talked about on the documentary, on the Jesus Music documentary.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Swaggart.
Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah.
There was the guy in the Crystal Palace. Is that him?
Yes, the Crystal Palace guy. Isn't that Robert Schuller?
Maybe. Who was the old guy that died like last year who looked like
the Crystal Cathedral was Robert Schuller. I'm sorry.
Robert Schuller. The guy who died last year who looked like he was like the crypt keeper. He was always like 100 years old and
I don't know. Maybe that was Robert Schuller.
Always spoke against the LGBT community and everybody's going to hell and
I don't know. All of them?
No.
single
true.
one?
Yes. Yes. Oh, but that guy was just awful.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't remember his
so
name.
many of them are
But yeah,
awful.
I mean, I don't really know a lot of names. I can remember because, you know, my mom and her family were, I mean, they are TBN listeners and watchers. And which is
Yes.
TBN being the Trinity Broadcasting Network, if you don't
Right.
know. And I just remember seeing a lot of white men sitting in like a library, a lot of books behind him with the words on the screen. You're
Yeah.
going to sow your seed money,
Right.
send it in. Like, so I don't know the names and stuff, but
Right.
that's
So
the face that I
Paul
get.
Crouch is who started Trinity Broadcasting Network.
Paul and his wife.
Mm.
I think Beth, but I think that's because I'm thinking of Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Well, you know,
Which
similar in a lot of ways.
Very
sadly.
similar.
Yes.
Jan was her name. Jan Crouch. She had the pink hair. She was really known
yes,
for
Jan.
big pink hair.
Yes, Jan. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Well, and then of course, Pat Robertson started the
That's
Christian
him. That's
Broadcasting
the guy who
Network.
died.
He started the 700 Club.
Okay, he was the guy who died, Pat Robertson.
Oh, okay.
The old crypt keeper guy.
Yeah, all right then.
Terrible.
He's not the scariest of them. Not even by far. I would not say he's the scariest. But
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know that Pat Robertson actually had any major scandals.
No, but he
had his hands in a lot of stuff.
Super conservative, very anti-gay.
Yes, he was very involved in politics.
Yes,
right.
Very much a
so
political
Pat Robertson
activist.
actually started the first Christian Broadcasting Network, which and then very soon after, Paul Crouch followed suit with Trinity Broadcasting. So, yeah.
Okay.
But
because there was money to be had.
Oh yeah, there was money to be had. So by the 1980s, so okay, let me back up. You know, TV came out in the 1950s, like television, right? So immediately, I mean, before that there were tons of like radio
shows.
Broadcasting, you know, like the Old Time Gospel Hour. And yeah. In fact, Old Time Gospel Hour, that's Jerry Falwell. He broadcast that for
fucking Jerry Falwell. I swear, every single episode.
Jerry Falwell has his fingers in everything. His greasy little fingers. So he started. He was the one that did Old Time Gospel Hour, which became like the most, famous of the radio broadcasts. Evangelism series. But by the 1970s, there began quite a few, like televangelists, like preachers that bought TV time, on one of the major broadcasting networks to preach their gospel the way they saw it and the way they needed the people to hear it and pay them money. So
that's the accent right there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I watched so many great video clips about these guys. But I remember as a child, like, flipping the channels and seeing all the televangelists
yelling at you.
Yes. Stomping around on stage, thwapping their Bible. Thwapping it. Yep.
That's right.
And and shouting and praising Jesus. I'll tell you, praising Jesus today. So,
a lot of spit flying.
A lot of spit. I just spit on my microphone too, just that little bit.
I saw it. That's that's what.
Okay, well, I'm glad we got that recorded. So, but by the 1980s, there were 1,370 religious radio stations and more than 220 religious television stations, plus 3 Christian networks that broadcast 24/7 religious.
24/7. Yes.
Yeah, nationwide.
Send in your prayer requests. We have people praying round the clock for you. And if you can send in also some money with that prayer request,
yes, then Jesus will more likely answer.
Yes.
Which was essentially the premise for the 1980s televangelist. Now, the 90s and 2000s especially is the televangelism started moving towards the prosperity gospel. That's when you get into Joel Osteen and some of those oh goodness, what is his name?
TD Jakes.
Dollar, whatever.
Creflo Dollar.
Creflo Dollar. Yes, who needed his $65 million jet or whatever.
Oh, geez.
But in the 80s, now, it was getting its start, the prosperity gospel.
Well, can I back you up for a second?
Yeah,
in
please.
the 70s, like when these guys were starting to get on these stations and stuff, do you, like, even with what we were talking about with the music last time, there seemed to be, like, in the 70s, it was still pretty pure. Like, we're trying to do the right thing. Yes. We're trying to reach people and speak the gospel and stuff like that.
Yes.
And then the 80s just went all to hell.
It did.
Everybody's
all
like
to
with
hell.
CCM and lots of money and like it explodes into this really gross thing. And now it's kind of like maybe going down a little bit more, but
it's not. It hit its peak in the mid 80s. For sure. And then it tanked out for quite a while in the 90s, but it's made a comeback, which is sad.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get into it. Tell me about it.
Okay. So today I'm mostly talking about like Oral Roberts and Jimmy Swaggart and Jim and Tammy Fay Bakker. Who could have lived through the 80s and not know who Jim and Tammy Fay Bakker are?
The mascara.
Right. Now, Robert Schuller, who I thought was the crypt keeper you were talking about, but apparently there are many crypt keepers. Adrian Rogers. Do you remember Adrian Rogers?
I don't.
Oh, he was just a sweaty old preacher.
Oh, gross.
He was one of those, gospel screamers. Peter Popoff. Does that name ring a bell?
Popoff?
I know.
His name was Popoff?
He didn't last too long because
Peter Popoff?
Yeah, his scandal came out a little.
What a name.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
And then Kenneth Copeland. Now he's huge.
Oh,
Kenneth Copeland.
Yeah.
And he was kind of one of the original prosperity gospel guys, along with Robert Tilton in the 80s.
Oh, I don't know Robert Tilton either. Okay, but
you would if you saw. You would.
Okay.
You would be like, ugh, cringe. Yeah. So there's one YouTuber who I was watching, and he was calling it televangelist, just televised cringe. Like, that's, absolutely.
Absolutely. I do. Yes. Okay.
Who,
okay,
Robert
I'm
Tilton?
putting them together now. No.
Oh.
Kenneth Copeland. I'm remembering the names and the faces and stuff. Okay. Yeah.
So Kenneth Copeland is still out there preaching and flying around on his mini jets.
Yeah. Massive jet.
And telling the world that Jesus wants you to be rich. And he's quite a character. So, but so back in the 80s, so Oral Roberts, he was originally a tent crusader in like the 1950s and 60s.
Right.
And then in the 70s, he started his televised ministry with the Healing Waters Ministry. Do you remember this?
No.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Healing Waters Ministry. So,
Okay.
so he used to,
And this was on TV?
yeah, it was paid religious programming. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
And then then he started like the Oral Roberts Evangelical Association, of course, Oral Roberts University, and all that stuff. I mean, he had his hands in a lot of stuff. He had his hands in a lot of politics as well. So a lot of them did. Like Pat
As
Robertson,
they do.
you know, ran for president, didn't he? Pat Robertson run for president at some point? I think he did.
Oh gosh, probably.
Yeah. I think it was back in the 90s. And
yes, he did. He blamed 9/11 on the gays.
oh my God. How did you pull that up so fast? Where'd you see that?
Oh, I just Googled him. That's what it said.
And it said he blamed 9/11 on the gays.
On the gays.
That's
the gays.
nice. That's Pat
course.
Robertson who did that? Yeah. So Pat Robertson ran for president back in 1986.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
At the height.
Right. At the height of everything.
At the height. Now, there wasn't any scandal with him?
No, not that came out. I mean, you know, other than the fact that he was just a televangelist, period.
Right.
You know, and quite a businessman. I mean,
yes.
He kind of,
yeah.
You know, he was just super involved in the whole charismatic movement with, you know, Protestant evangelism. But, and then, of course, he served as the head of like Regent University and Christian Broadcasting Network and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And
yeah,
he was also involved in the American Center for Law and Justice and the Christian Coalition. So
all these old white men with a lot of power in the United States.
Yes, but he was best known for hosting 700 Club.
Yes.
Yeah.
His little face there being one of the 700 Club sign.
The Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, the Crypt Keeper.
What does the 700 Club even stand for? I should have looked. I'm going to look that up.
I don't know.
I mean, who's the 700?
The 700.
Yeah. The 700.
I can't even think what that would reference in the Bible.
Right. I don't either.
700. I don't know. People
on their website and it's trying to make me become a partner. It's trying to make me pay to become a member. I'm like, I just want to know who you are.
You have to pay for
No,
this
you have to pay us first. Right. Oh, my word.
Oh, geez. What about, okay, so in any of your research, did you come across John Hagee?
No, he wasn't on my list. Who's that?
John Hagee is a big one. That's one that I remember seeing quite frequently on at the house.
Oh.
Big, sweaty guy.
Ooh, yeah. Now I'm looking at photos. Ew.
Very sweaty.
Yeah.
And passionate. I mean, he was just intense about everything.
Right. Why do they all have to be so freaking intense? I guess it's to scare people into giving money, you know?
Well, now this brings up an interesting point that I don't think we've talked about on here before, but I went to Bible college.
Okay.
Out of high school. And there was like, it was a Church of Christ, maybe, I think, denomination. Does that sound right? I don't know.
You don't even know
I have no
the Bible
idea.
college you went to?
Disciples of Christ, Church of Christ. I don't even remember what half of them are anymore. But the women had certain degrees that you could go into, right? And the men could go into certain. So
Wow.
men were the only ones who could go into like the preaching degrees and stuff like
Wow.
that. Yeah. And
And
so
you
I
chose this
remember
college.
I
Well, that's another story, huh?
did because yes, that makes sense about me at that time. Yes,
Yeah.
I did choose
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, interestingly enough, and this is probably, and we could talk about all of this at another time too, but they had one men's dorm and it had carpeting and air conditioning.
Okay.
Guess whose did not?
Really?
Two female dorms had linoleum. Oh,
What just happened?
I don't know. We got balloons. Linoleum.
Woo! Men's dorm. Okay.
Had linoleum and no AC. And the men were like catered to. They were like our little precious ones.
Wow.
And they get to go into preaching. But the reason I brought that up is because I remember that they were like, the guys would be practicing how to preach. They would be practicing the tone, the passion. Like there was a certain way
Oh
that,
Lord.
kind of like public speaking, you
Yeah.
had to get up and preach a certain way to pass the class. You had to have your 3 points. You had to be passionate. You had to have conviction. You had to have, this is how it applies to your life. Like it was so regimented. So, they learn how to do this with this style to like really grab
That's just so
the
gross.
conviction. It's the anointing of
So
God.
the church I attend here in where I live, and the church that I follow out of Denver, the pastors aren't like that at all. They just talk. They just talk to people like normal people.
That's nice.
Yeah, I
and
can't
probably
stand
the
that
way you should do it.
stomping and screaming and
yelling and the passion
talking
and
with your hands so much and like shaking your fists at people and slamming your hand on the Bible and bleh. Which is what all of those televangelists did with
right. They have a style.
Yeah, without exception. Every single one of those 80s televangelists did exactly that. They're prancing and stomping and screaming and slapping and spitting and hollering and whooping and praising the Lord.
Yep. And they are, quote unquote, anointed. It's the anointing of the Holy Spirit that allows them to do that.
Right.
That's what
they are prophets of God.
That's right. Prophets.
Yeah. And many of them self-proclaimed prophets. They will tell you they are prophets.
My massage therapist, her brother is a pilot.
Okay.
And he was hired personally to be the personal pilot for this guy, and who had like this personal private jet, multi-million-dollar jet, and he had to call him prophet and flew him around the world. Yes.
He had to call him prophet. Had to.
Yes.
Couldn't just address him by name.
Yes. And he made $350,000 a year flying this guy around the world in his jet.
Oh, that's so gross.
But only if he calls him prophet. Oh, prophet. Hello, prophet. Hello. I don't even know what the guy's name was.
I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll make a profit off of you, so I don't have a problem calling you prophet.
Seriously? I would not have a problem with that at all.
Right.
I'm like, you can call whatever you want me to call you. I don't care.
Profiteer.
Prophet.
Whatever.
Okay. Profiteer.
Whatever you want. Whatever makes you happy, as long as the paychecks are rolling in, my friend.
Jeez.
Ay, caramba. So, yeah, so back in the 80s, there's a lot of this faith healing stuff,
Ooh, what was that guy's name? The big faith healer.
So, I mean, there were a lot of them, but I mean, Oral Roberts used to do faith healing.
No, he was like that Indian guy or whatever. Ethnic guy.
No idea.
What was
But
his
Peter
name?
Popoff is the big one that there was a big scandal around his faith healing.
Oh, what happened?
Well, okay, he was German born. Is that the kind of ethnic you're thinking of? No.
No.
Okay, not the
This
same kind of
guy.
ethnic.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
But go ahead.
So he would, tell his flock that, God had revealed to him there were people in the audience, somebody with lupus, somebody with, digestive issues, somebody with a false leg, whatever.
A false leg.
And you're feeling phantom pains in that missing foot,
Yes.
So he would walk around in the audience and like declare that God was telling him that there were these people that needed healing. And when it was his wife that was feeding him information through an earpiece.
Oh, that's right. Right, because they would gather it at the door.
Yes.
Is there anything that like you're struggling with? And then they would find out what seat they were sitting in.
Yes.
Okay, so the one I was thinking of is Benny Hinn.
Oh,
remember Benny Hinn?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if he ended up doing any of that, but I know about Peter Popoff do it. I didn't know his name, but yeah, there was quite a few of them that would do that.
Oh.
That got caught.
Oh yeah, that got caught.
Gathering that information, and it was all fake. It was a show. They would hire these people to come up and act like they could walk. And
do you remember that movie with Steve Martin in, I don't know, 80s or early 90s, called Leap of Faith? And he was like a Kent revival preacher.
Oh shoot!
And that was a scam. He was.
Oh yeah.
He was faith healing. He was a traveling faith healer. Oh my gosh, that's a hilarious movie. I'll have to go back and watch that.
I'll have to watch that too.
But
yeah, because it happened.
Yeah. So so of course, poor Peter Popoff got exposed, went bankrupt.
Oh.
But then a couple of years later, he comes back and he's like doing infomercials about his miracle spring water.
No. Oh no.
And he was one of those that also referred to himself as a prophet. He
didn't learn that he had no special skills.
No.
He was not that in tune to the Holy Spirit or clairvoyant or whatever he wanted to call himself.
No.
So, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. And miracle spring water.
Yes. So what this reminds me of is,
oh my God, and it came in little packets. Have you seen this?
No.
His miracle spring water is not like a 20-ounce bottle of water. It's in like a little Ziploc baggie, like a dime bag.
Well, because all you need is a little bit, Brittany.
Yeah, you
don't have to bathe in it.
Water.
You just sprinkle it. I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh my God. If you pay money, if you donate to his organization, you would get a free dime bag of miracle spring water.
Right. You have to donate so it can be tax-free. If you purchase, then then the Internal Revenue Service can get a chunk of that. But if it's a donation, yeah.
That is amazing.
Right, which is how all of these televangelists became like multi mega millionaires.
Yes.
Is because
now
they're hiding under the tax shelter of their religious
tax-free
organization.
Thank you, USA.
Yeah. And they're
tax-free.
Like, I need, pray for me, followers. Pray that I get enough funding for my new jet so I can preach the gospel to the world. Jesus said to go out and make disciples of all nations, and that's what I'm going to do with my new jet. I'm going to fly it over to Italy and preach the gospel on the Italian Riviera.
In a way, like, it sounds like that message that Carmen had on his Facebook page. You remember that? It
Oh,
was like, pray for me that I get enough in my GoFundMe to
yeah.
be able to, pay for this album so that I can continue to sing and write songs and spread the message of Jesus.
Right? Because
Because
you
I'm
don't
only
have to
making
pay
like
tax.
70,000 a year
Right.
and live in a $4.5 million mansion.
Well, that doesn't even pay the taxes hardly on his mansion now, does it?
No,
So turns
sad.
out you do have to pay property tax, but so the purchase of those things is tax free.
Right. Well, your
So
donations can pay for all that.
yes,
All those people sending in all those donations, it's for
right,
your use.
right.
Yes,
So
thank you.
so Jim and Tammy Fay Bakker,
Oh God.
and if there's anyone listening that truly does not know who these people are,
No.
just pause now. Pause us now. Go Google, look it up, because I can't even begin to describe. I cannot
She's
describe.
known for
Tammy
her
Fay, yeah, for her
caked
outlandish
on
makeup and her giant hair, and yes, oh, the makeup,
and
the clown makeup.
crying and the mascara just
Yes,
running and
every
running.
week when they're praising Jesus and preaching the gospel, she'd be brought to tears. Her heart was so moved. And yes, and then the black streaks all
The black
down her face.
streak.
Oh my gosh, made her look like she was wearing Indian war paint, like she was going out to battle. Ah,
No. And then
oh,
when her husband was
caught raping a
when the
woman.
scandal,
Yeah.
when the scandal came out, he raped somebody?
Yes.
I don't even know what he did.
Okay, so okay, let me back up. So
Okay.
Jim and Tammy Fay, they were Assemblies of God ministers, and Tammy Fay was actually a Christian musician back in the day when
Oh.
they first got married. Yeah, she had some recorded albums. They created the PTL club, the Praise the Lord club.
That's
The
right.
PTL club, and
Praise the Lord.
oh yes, and
thing.
it was so
Yes.
so huge in the 80s.
Yes.
And then they started building Heritage USA in South Carolina, which is like this big theme park, like Christian theme park.
Oh my God. I wish they would
Reminds you,
open that.
so much in common with
Oh.
the
If some televangelist is listening to this, and you know they are, because they all listen to our podcast.
yes, they all do. They've dialed us in many times.
Please, I will send a donation personally if you would please open a Christian theme park. Please open up a televangelist theme park. How amazing would that be, Kristen?
Well, it would. Well,
the shows, the people dressed up like Jesus, like in character, little Jesus is walking
yeah, can you imagine Jesus
come
walking
on.
around and hugging all the children?
Saying hi to the kids. During Halloween, we have one massive judgment house.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Kristen.
Maybe you and I should start it. Oh, I bet we could come up with
would buy
way
a
better
membership.
ideas. Yeah. So, okay, so Jim and Tammy Bakker, yeah.
Okay,
so they built Heritage USA theme park, which opened in like 1978, and it actually continued to run until 1989. And they also built this huge like hotel resort thing right next to it, and they were like asking people to donate $1,000 and they'd get a 3-day stay in the resort for once a year for a lifetime or something like that. Well, anyway, then all the scandal came out, surrounding them. And that deal fell through, and all those people that had donated to build that massive multi-million-dollar resort got like $6.40 in the settlement.
No. Oh,
so
no.
bummer, huh?
Where'd
At
all
least
the
they
money
got
go?
something. But
Where'd all the money go?
well,
The
they built
Bakkers
the
just
thing.
kept it?
Yeah, well, they built the thing, but I mean, all the money went.
Did it turn into something else?
I don't know. It shut down. I have no idea what it is now. But yeah, I mean, it was no longer run by the ministry. So what happened was that church secretary Jessica Hahn, that was a household name back in the 80s.
The secretary.
Yeah, the church secretary with the big hair, she came forward alleging that Jim Bakker had raped her.
Ooh.
And then that he and some of the church elders had given her hush money, $270,000 worth of hush money. Nice. But she was like, yeah, fuck you, dude. You raped me and you're out there.
Did she take the hush money though?
You know what? I have no idea. All I know is she came forward and said that she wasn't going to shut up about it. So good for her, Jessica Hahn.
Good for her.
But it's easier to do that if you have $270,000 in your pocket as well. So
in my pocket.
Especially back in the 80s.
Can't say I would have done anything different. Say thank you for that money.
Thank you. And now I'm going to go blab. Yeah. To absolutely everyone. Yeah. So now I can get you on two things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just
I can get you on rape and blackmail. Nice. Good job. So after the allegations of the rape and the hush money came out, then this huge, massive investigation went into their ministries, and they found all kinds of accounting fraud, misappropriation of funds, of course, and that's when Jim Bakker went to prison for
about a
decade. Yeah.
Now, are they still alive? I thought Tammy
Fay died in 2007. She had cancer and had struggled with it off and on for a decade or more when she finally succumbed to it in 2007. Jim? But she had remarried shortly after. I mean, she divorced Jim when he went off to prison, and then she remarried she's gonna save
her image,
right? For some personality, I don't even know who the hell she married. Roe Messner. I have no idea who that is.
Okay.
Oh wait, but she was married before that too. Let's see. Oh no, that was it. She married Roe Messner, whoever that is.
Okay.
So. And then she was married to him until she passed away. But she actually ended up doing some pretty cool things.
She did?
Yeah. She led a big movement for evangelicals to accept LGBTQ community, and did some, like, promoting AIDS, HIV, like, research and ministries to help those people and stuff, especially during the height of the AIDS epidemic. Yeah. So despite her horrible fashion choices, she actually had a pretty decent heart somewhere under there. Yeah. Or else she just did things that would keep her in the limelight. Maybe a little bit of both.
I do remember that they had a son, Jay, and he did some preaching, and he talks about his life with them. And like, he would do, and this was, gosh, a while ago, but kind of when this was back, and it wasn't really popular back then, but he would kind of have like church services in bars and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
let's just be normal people and
Right.
stuff. So
Right.
I don't really know what any of them are doing now, but okay.
Have you ever been to a church service in a bar? I have.
Yes. Yes. Now it was like not really, it was like during the day when nobody was there. So it was like all the church people just went and met in this building where there were no other people because people don't go to a bar at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
But we're having in the bar.
Right. No, I went to one on a Sunday evening. It was a Sunday evening. And it was, you know, called like, I don't know, Jesus and Brewskis, or I don't know what the hell it was called, but it was in some, it was in like a microbrew place back in Wichita. And yeah, so that was actually cool, and they did serve beer.
Yeah.
During it, they didn't serve any hard liquor. They only served beer during it. I don't think they wanted people getting completely sloshed. Bummer.
Oh, girl, this says that Jim Bakker is doing the thing. He's the televangelist still.
Is he really? Oh God.
He returned to television in 2003, launching the Jim Bakker Show.
Oh, yes. And he focuses on like end of days prophecy.
Of course.
That's right. He's preaching the end of times. You know, and it's coming soon, so you need to send me all your money. Don't hold that money for yourself. Don't just store up your treasures in heaven by sending them here to me, Jim Bakker.
Be terrified. Oh God, I cannot handle these guys. I mean, and he's got a blonde, beautiful wife.
Of course he does.
Gross. I can't handle it. Oh my God. Look. Okay. Have you looked at the Jim Bakker Show website?
No. Let me look.
I'll have to put this picture on social media because, oh my God, they've not changed it all. It's him and this gorgeous blonde wife, and he's wearing like a tuxedo, airing today.
Oh my heavens. Yep.
I mean,
Jim and Lori Bakker want to wish you a happy new year. He looks so different though. Oh my God. He looks so different than he did in the 80s.
Oh my God.
He looks like a nice little old man, actually.
All about the prophetic end times.
Mm-hmm. But his blonde wife with the heavy makeup and the big tits didn't change much. He just switched out one model for the next. Good Lord. Nice.
And she has obviously had plenty of plastic surgery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, all right. What else?
Oh, you know, there's so much stuff about Kenneth Copeland.
Oh, Kenneth Copeland.
You know,
his face creeps me out.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. If you look up Kenneth Copeland on YouTube, and please do. Anyone listening, please go to YouTube and look up Kenneth Copeland. There are so many videos that people have like done all like this filter work and stuff with and made him look like Satan. He does. He looks like Satan. They've made him look.
These videos are the highlight of my life. Whenever like people have all the crazy like psycho church services and people dub like hard music over top, and there's one that's my favorite where they're all like, it's a crazy Pentecostal church service and they put the DuckTales theme song over top of it. Have you seen this?
No.
It is the best. I'll put a link to it on our website
amazing.
too. I mean, it's so great. This just makes me so happy.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, we could really do a whole episode on Kenneth Copeland alone. He's had a long running career as
He
a
sure has.
televangelist, and
He's like 90
yes,
now, and
and
he's still going.
oh, he's so scary looking. So I watched this more recent interview of him where a reporter kind of caught him as he was getting ready to get into his limo, and his giant stretch limo after he got off of his jet plane,
Giant
his
plane.
private
Yes.
jet plane, one of his fleet of giant jet planes. He got off, and she was interviewing him. First of all, the man couldn't create a coherent sentence, period. But second of all, deflecting. She would ask him questions about, what's your reaction to when people say you preach the prosperity gospel? And he's like, you have beautiful eyes, honey.
No.
Okay. Yes. And he's like, I just love Inside Edition. My Inside Edition is a great program. I mean, he's just pulling out all the narcissistic, emotional, manipulative tactics he could.
Oh, I love it. I'm gonna have to look at that one too.
Oh,
That's funny.
it's so cringe. It was hard to watch, actually. It's like 15 minutes long of this interview. And first of all, he doesn't answer a single damn question. Except she says, both of my grandfathers were preachers, and both of them say, strongly believe that a preacher of the gospel should not live in extravagant wealth. That money should be put back into the people and ministry and caring for others. And
good for her.
Yes, exactly. But Kenneth Copeland did not agree. He said that is just a misinterpretation of the Bible, sweetheart. That's a misinterpretation of the Bible. He said, you go back in Old Testament times, and do you think those Jews did not believe in prosperity and wealth? They absolutely did. Oh my gosh. He was just
right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The words of Jesus clearly were all about
and he's
prosperity
like,
gospel.
I'm a wealthy man. I'm a very, very wealthy man. I've got this and this and this, and he's naming it, his huge house and his multiple homes all over the world and his, fleet of planes and his, everything he's got. And he's like, but it's not all for ministry, you understand. I've got my books and my products and my
gross.
It is so gross.
And my fraud and my tax evasion, and I got all the things it's from.
Yes. And you know what was so nice though, Brittany, is towards the end of that interview, he stopped and he prayed with that woman. He grabbed her hand and he had an impromptu prayer, just praising her and praising her grandfathers for taking the word of God out there, and just, praising Inside Edition for
Don't
my gosh.
Fucking touch me, creep.
I know. Oh yeah. He like reached over and grabbed her. Oh.
No. I bet he did, because she was probably a beautiful blonde.
She was a beautiful, I think she was brunette, honestly.
She was probably a really pretty young lady.
Mm-hmm. Well, seeing as he's like 1,000 years old and looks like he was wearing... You remember like Michael Jackson's Thriller video, and at the end where Michael Jackson...
yes, they got all
morphs into a monster, and he's got all this prosthetic makeup on. That is what Kenneth Copeland looks like in real life nowadays. Right. He looks like that distorted, wrinkly, gray, pallid face.
We're on the same page. I was thinking, I'm a huge fan of The Labyrinth, and the movie The Labyrinth, which is Jim Henson and all the Muppets with the big and the prosthetics that they like, the all the plastic on their face and
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
That's what he looks like. He looks like a goblin.
He does. He a goblin. That is exactly right. Kenneth Copeland is a goblin. Or like an orc from like Middle Earth or something.
The orcs. We're going to hell in a handbasket.
Oh, well, according to Kenneth Copeland, we probably are, but not too worried about what he thinks of me.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're going to have to do a separate episode
just
on the prosperity gospel, because I have so many thoughts about this and so many stories, and we just don't have time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, okay, so I do have a question about televangelists. Did you find any women? Because I thought maybe Joyce Meyer.
Well, Joyce Meyer
may have been labeled as a televangelist.
Yeah, yeah. She is considered among the televangelists. Now, of course, she wasn't, anything compared to the men, but
well, that's because God didn't bless her with as much prosperity, because she's a woman and she should not be preaching.
Correct. Right. Yeah. So that's why God had to take her down. So yeah, because she went through a period, like a slump.
Well, didn't like some guy that worked for her murdered his wife? Do you remember that whole story?
What? No.
Some guy that worked for her, like murdered his wife, I think. And it was this huge scandal.
Oh my gosh.
She tried to cover it up, and like, seriously, every single one of them has some serious scandal.
That's really scary. No, I no idea.
Not to mention she looks like the Joker.
Yeah, she kind of does. She's got those lines around her lips.
Weird
it's
mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like little tiny lips, and then her. It's so odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're all like reptilian weirdos. So, yeah. So was she the only woman? Did you come across any others?
No. And I hardly came across anything for her when I was researching televangelists, because she wasn't really even considered among the bigger televangelists.
Right. You had to be the wife, like the first lady.
Right. And now her husband did do ministry with her. So, to give her some legitimacy, apparently. But then it came out that he had many, many, many affairs on her.
Oh my God.
So I don't know if there's anything necessarily with Joyce herself,
mess.
but everything surrounding her. Well, anytime you give somebody that much money and power,
yep,
shit's gonna go south. And the vultures start circling. So
that's right. Crazy.
Anyway, well, what are we going to talk about next week then?
I think we're going to do prosperity gospel. We'll just continue this on.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about it, because I have some stories and some thoughts. This is going to be fun.
Great. Well, you know what? Maybe we both come to the table with some information on prosperity gospel, and we just have a prosperity gospel duel. Kind of like the dueling pianos.
That's right.
Bars.
Did you know?
Yeah.
But did you know?
But did you know? No. And I would love to see.
I got a personal story.
What? Oh, well, you trumped me big time. I got a personal
story.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good one too.
Okay, well, there's some juicy tidbits. Reason to tune in next time. I got to hear this personal story of your prosperity gospel.
Well, Kristen, this has been fun. I love talking about televangelists. I could just do this all the time. I think there's so much more to talk about. I mean,
so much more.
I don't even feel like we got to it
No,
today.
I feel like I just barely scraped the surface.
I mean,
with this.
now, I went to so many Presbyterian churches where it was like, of course, not televised, but it was the same kind of style. The money,
Really?
give and give and
Yeah.
give, and the yelling and stomping around and screaming, and we got
Really? From Presbyterian? That's interesting.
Oh,
I went to Presbyterian
man.
church in high school, and it was very reserved. It was
No. I meant Pentecostal.
Okay, thank you. I was like,
wow. I don't know what they are anymore.
Pentecostal. Now that makes sense. Presbyterian,
Pentecostal.
not so much.
No. So we were in a Presbyterian church for a long time, but that was never that style.
Yeah, no,
but they're
totally reserved.
We went to a very famous church in Cincinnati. I don't know if you know about it, but it's the church that had Touchdown Jesus. Do you remember hearing about Touchdown Jesus in the news?
No.
Okay, so it's a big church, and they televise and everything.
Yeah.
All about prosperity. Everything's huge, and they had this huge statue of Jesus in the front of their church coming out of a lake. So it's Jesus with his hands raised, coming out of the lake, like when he was baptized, right? And it's right by the highway. So you could see it, and it was all over the news and stuff. Well, everybody called him Touchdown Jesus.
Because he was like a goalpost? By
lightning. Yes.
Because he was holding his hands up like a goalpost?
Yes. Touchdown. Touchdown Jesus. But like,
nice.
I think it was like maybe 10 years ago or so now, he caught on fire. He was struck by lightning and caught on fire.
Well, that tells you something about what God thinks of that.
And burnt down, and they rebuilt him. They rebuilt Jesus. So now he's standing there like this. So now we either call him the fish was this big, Jesus.
Because he's just got his hands spread in front of him a little bit. He's got his hands
spread like this, like, $5 footlong Jesus. Is what I call him. Oh, God. But I mean, the money, everybody was so mad about it. They're like, take a freaking clue.
Yeah.
This huge Jesus statue that you spent a fortune on, burnt down, maybe don't rebuild it.
Well, they weren't going to let those naysayers tell them what God wants.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe it was the devil hit it with lightning. I don't, I haven't read anything in the Bible about the devil being able to have power over lightning.
Over lightning. No.
But God seems to have some power over the weather in the Bible.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe they should have left burnt Jesus where he lie.
I mean, the images of burnt Jesus, I'm going to have to put those on the website too. There's so amazing. There are videos of Jesus just burning down.
Oh, kind of like the Twin Towers falling. There's videos of just Jesus burning to the ground.
Melting.
Oh, poor Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, what do they call that? An effigy? Is that what they call it? What do they call it when you build a, like in Burning Man, when you build a big thing and then you burn it?
I think is that what it's called? That sounds about right.
Big burning Jesus effigy.
I mean, the stuff that some of these big churches and televangelists do, I think we could definitely spend all kinds of time.
We could create a whole podcast series.
Just like series. So how about we will just sprinkle
alone,
them? We'll sprinkle them throughout our seasons. So next week we'll touch on the prosperity gospel. I think we could definitely come back to any one of these televangelists and do an entire.
Oh, there's so much. I want to talk so much more about Kenneth Copeland. I really do.
We'll get to it.
Oh, he's quite a character.
Indeed. Okay.
Well, with that image of Jesus burning to the ground in my
his face melting away
into my mind.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Go in peace, my friend. Peace be with you.
And also with you.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching this episode. Please subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think in the comments and if you have any topics that you would like for us to address in later episodes. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.